Agoraphobia is a type of anxiety that makes people afraid to make decisions or even have contact with people. Now, agoraphobia can have many branches of symptoms, including depression, anxiety, bipolar tendencies, or even social isolation. Now, with depression, people feel like they can't overcome their sadness. They don't eat, they don't sleep, they don't shower, they don't do anything for themselves. They just keep to themselves and that's it. And that plays into the social isolation part of it. They lock themselves in their room all day. If they decide to go somewhere, like on a walk, they go alone, and they refuse to speak to people, even their family members or significant others. They refuse to talk to them or interact with them, and they usually spend their days alone. Now with the anxiety, this can include anything from using another name so people don't know your true identity. This means that they'll meet someone and they'll tell them a fake name just so they can't have any information from them. They feel like this is too personal to give away. They feel overwhelmed when they go places or just by being in a room with someone else. They feel like this is too much for them and they can't handle it. They panic and they can't control themselves. They can even go as far as to have a panic attack. They usually feel powerless. They don't feel like they have the control over their lives that they're supposed to. They feel like they can't make their own decisions. And this is things from what they're going to eat for breakfast and where they're going to go for the rest of the day. On the left here, you can see a brain that is not depressed. And on the right, there is a brain suffering from depression. Actually, there's theories about the reduction of the brain when being depressed. Apparently, when the brain is depressed, there's a chemical that will actually cause the lobes of your brain to shrink. The brain and anxiety. Anxiety affects many different things in your body, especially in the brain. The chemicals that are usually pretty balanced in your brain are definitely altered. Your hormones are affected. Things like your adrenaline, cortisol, insulin, and your thyroid hormones all increase. Your eyes will start to dilate with an anxiety attack. You might even start to shake. With all these overwhelming things happening in your body, your heart rate will increase, and with that comes your blood pressure. Your blood pressure will skyrocket when an anxiety attack occurs. With all this going on in your body as well, you tend to breathe heavier, so your bronchial tubes open and they try to help you breathe a lot better. Anxiety takes a toll on your body. Now, in regards to the bipolar tendencies, people with a bipolar disorder have mood swings. And this can mean that they're at the top of the world, they're feeling that they're happiest, and in a second that is shot down to being the saddest or angriest person. And they have no control and they have no understanding on why this is happening to them. They usually have a usual storage of energy. They will go days, weeks without sleeping, and they have the energy that a normal person would have after 8 hours of rest. They will get maybe an hour a week and they still feel like they're able to go out and live their lives in their own way. They are also very impulsive. They can decide to get on the next bus. They don't even know where it's going, and they'll just go for maybe a long period, a short period of time, and they just have no control over their decisions. They have suicidal thoughts and tendencies. They plan in their heads how they'll commit suicide, or they even attempt to commit suicide in different ways. Even if they fail at it, they just try to see what the best way or how they feel would be the best way to take their own lives. And these suicidal thoughts usually arise from their lack of interest in life. They feel like they shouldn't be here, or they would just be better without having to bother people like their family members. Like, they think that other people's lives will be better without them, and that their life will be happier when it's ended, and they'll be free, and they'll be able to escape their depression and their anxiety and everything in between. As you can see, the picture in the middle of the image shows a person's brain in the manic state. Now, a manic episode is part of bipolar disorder. Manic is the opposite end of the spectrum from depression. It's when a person may be feeling unusually good or cheerful, and they feel like they're in a state of euphoria. Initially, this seems like it would be a good thing. People around them see that they're happy, they think that they're normal, but people who know them very well know that this is not a good sign. Usually during a manic episode, the person who is having it tends to speak with a pressured voice. It's usually loud and rapid, and it's very difficult to understand. They will talk for hours on end without really knowing what they're talking about. People have described the feeling of a manic episode as watching 3 television programs at once. It's coming at them straight forward, and it's fast, and it's very confusing. The thoughts in people's heads race, and it's just very, very overwhelming for a person. They might seem happy on the outside, but in reality, they're suffering from a manic episode. Hello again. What is this? What I think it is? A copy of Sylvia Plath's The Bell Jar. Now, I recently read this story. It's about the life of a young Miss Esther Greenwood and her struggles with her place in the world during the 1950s as she is a woman, and as she's feeling things that aren't normally talked about in the 1950s. Things like depression and her way of dealing with it. Now, this whole book goes over the struggles of her unraveling. It's very quick, and you feel yourself going crazy with her. Now, I'd like to tell you more about it. Please, follow me. The agoraphobia in Esther's life is caused by the lack of structure and discipline in her life. You see, Esther lost her father at the very young, vulnerable age of 9. She was never able to accept this death or deal with this death as she should have, because of her mother shielding her or because of her different ways of coping with it. It wasn't something that she could go through with. She always blocked it out of her life, and she never really talked about it. And this all sparked her unraveling and her plunge into a deep depression. Throughout this whole novel, Esther seems a little off. She doesn't seem like a normal girl of her age. She's in a big city by herself with a bunch of other girls, and she does things that are a little strange. She'll eat all at once and take as much food in as she can, or she'll use a fake name to introduce herself to other people. She won't let other people know who she really is. She struggles with becoming a woman, and she also has a hard time choosing between having a family or having a career. She doesn't know which one to pick. All these symptoms are signs of agoraphobia. She can't make the big decisions in her life. It's not up to her. It's just very confusing for her. And the thing that makes everything much, much worse is when she heads back home and she is not accepted for the job that she wants. This is when everything explodes. Everything is just terrible in her life at the time. And with this not getting the job that she wants, she just loses it. She goes into a very deep state of depression. She won't leave her house. She's wearing an outfit that she borrowed from one of her friends from the city, and she doesn't take it off. She never changes from this outfit. I don't even think that she washes this outfit. She doesn't shower. She waits until her mom leaves to wake up or to get out of bed because she doesn't sleep anymore. She spends all night contemplating her life and just thinking things that she shouldn't be thinking, the things that don't concern her. And she doesn't really involve herself with anyone anymore. She doesn't want to see her friends. She's disgusted at the sight of her neighbor walking down the street with her many children. She doesn't want that to be her. And she won't speak to her mom. She's very rude to her mom. She drives her mother to the point of tears and is never reprimanded. In the 1950s, many people didn't have the knowledge of many they didn't comprehend what these mental illnesses were. They didn't really regard mental illness with the care that they should have. They just thought people were crazy. They put them in crazy houses because they thought that if they were this sad and this depressed, something had to be very wrong with them. They weren't right in the head. The era of lobotomies had just ended. They weren't taking out people's brains anymore, but they were also testing out electroshock therapy. Now, I understand that today in 2015, they do use shock treatments, and it does help for some people. It rewires the brain in some way, it jumpstarts it to fix it. But the way that they try to treat Esther is very wrong. They shock her with such force that she just kind of just numbs out of everything. She's not feeling what she used to feel, but she's just numb. And they do this to many people regardless of what their illness is. At first, Esther is very apprehensive about the shock treatments that she is supposed to be getting. But she has a connection with her doctor that makes her feel more comfortable or calm when she actually speaks to her, and she trusts her doctor. And her doctor tells her that everything is going to be alright, that they're not like the same shock treatments she got before. She decides then to go along with the treatments, and she seems to be getting better. With every shock treatment, she seems to be getting happier, or happier for Esther. But she also seems like she's numbing out of the world. She seems like she's not keeping her balance with the world. Esther's actually losing her connection with the fragment of reality that she had. She's being shocked into thinking that everything is getting better. And things do get better for a time. She gets more privileges. She gets to leave the facility that she's at. She gets moved to the different houses for less security on her. She also tries to make new friends, even though the girls there think that she's insane and she shouldn't be there with them. She decides that she's going to visit one of her friends outside of the facility, but things go wrong there and she's sent back to her quarters, and her privileges are revoked for that time. But everything starts to rewind, and she's feeling the same things again, even with the shock treatments. And she's very hopeful, and she hopes for better. And the story leaves off with her with a positive outlook and hoping that everything will be okay afterwards. Esther has times when things seem to get better. She actually visits the graveyard where her father's buried, and it isn't clear if she's visited before, but most likely she's never been there. And she sits there, and I feel like she comes close to accepting her father's death, but she's not all the way there yet. She decides that she wants to visit it more often, as her mother doesn't, but this is what she is comfortable with. Thank you for watching. It's been my pleasure breaking down the bell jar with you. Bye.